Greenlight Network presents Football Time.
Hey, and welcome to the Football Time podcast. We're here with our man, Achilles Reign. As always, Thursday means the football season is upon us. You ready to get into our Week 15 preview and breakdown with some picks in here?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this, man.
All right, so let's start off with the Ringer Fanduel mega contest. We got 5 mutual picks to do here. Last week, we continued our ride of 3-2, which put us 39 and 32 overall. Not all that bad. And if you take off our really terrible 1-4 week, we've been pretty solid all year long. So we had wins with the Ravens, the Texans, no, the Bears.
It's all right. If it's a win, I'll take it. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yes, Bears, Chargers, and we had losses with Carolina and the Packers. So 3-2 overall, 39 and 32 on the year. Not too bad. Let's see if we can have another winning week.
Yeah, we definitely need to up our game a little bit, but as the season gets later and later, it just gets that much harder.
All right, so we'll start off with this dynamite Thursday game. I know a coworker of ours was very pumped for some reason for this Thursday night game today. We both were like, are they playing football tonight? But the Los Angeles Chargers are visiting the Las Vegas Raiders. Should be a offensive game, I guess, though both teams have been a little porous at that the last couple of weeks. But anyway, where are you sitting here? What are you thinking? How do you think this game will break down?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I wasn't even sure that there was a game this Thursday. I'm not used to having Thursday night games this late in the season. It definitely feels like we should be onto those Sunday only type of places in the NFL. But yeah, apparently there's a game tonight, the Las Vegas Raiders at the LA Chargers. When I looked at this game, to be honest with you, I wasn't really intrigued by it. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with either one of these teams. But the more I looked into it, and as I read some of the possible inactives for the game, I believe that the Chargers both of their receivers are questionable right now. So if that's the case, even if they are like a game time decision where, they just happen to activate them at the last second, I think that it hurts their passing game enough to where the Raiders could possibly just go ahead and get an easy win this week. So what's the opening line at for that game?
The opening line for this game is 3.5 for the Raiders.
I think this is definitely a maybe for me with the Raiders. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm feeling a little bit Chargers here. Now, that just might be because I've watched the Raiders play the last 4 weekends. I just feel like the Chargers have more, to play for here. I think they'll want to get that offense and show out. Defensively, both these teams are really, really poor. So I don't know. This Chargers team has me in a spell right now. I'm sort of intrigued by their offense, but you could say about 5 weeks ago I was intrigued by the Las Vegas Raiders offense. And so I don't know. I probably should just totally stay away from this game. I could see the Raiders blowing this away, but something tells me the Chargers are going to close the season well here. So I'm thinking Chargers, but especially getting points. But why do you like the Raiders?
Well, for one, like you said, I do like that Los Angeles Charger offense. But the problem is that both of the his wide receivers are questionable. Mike Williams and what's his name? Drawing a blank.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen. Sorry. Yeah, I mean they're both questionable. The fact that they're both questionable, even if they do play, I think that whatever discomfort they might be feeling is significant enough to, at least somewhat limit them if they're going to be a game time decision. Um, and the Raiders, to me, they have a little bit more to play for because they still have a potential avenue to a playoff spot. Now, obviously, they can only do what they can control, which is winning this game, and then the rest is basically sit back, watch, and hope for some teams to get some losses. So I think that they probably have a little bit more to play for than the Chargers do. And after last week's fiasco with the special teams coaching calls and all those boneheaded mistakes, I find it really hard for me to feel comfortable with the Chargers right now.
Yeah, I'll give you the one thing that concerns me. Right now, the Las Vegas Raiders rushing defense is 32nd, according to Football Outsiders. And with Austin Eckler back, who they've been using really well the last couple weeks, I think they could sort of use those receivers just out there to draw away coverage and then pound the rock with Eckler, who's looked pretty good. And I think the Chargers might score some points. Now, that being said, Jacobs is a go, which sort of helps that Raiders defense. So I think I'll probably just stay away. But if you like it, we'll keep it in the mutual maybe list. And if we start to get desperate enough as we go through here, which I'm foreseeing we will, since I struggled finding any games to actually bet on this week, we'll come back to it and see how you feel about it.
That sounds good to me.
All right, we'll move on. Buffalo Bills at the Denver Broncos. Possibly the line I like the least. 6.5-point road favorites in Denver. Interesting game. I think the Bills are really much better than Denver, but 6.5, very high line to be road favorites in Denver, especially when I'm assuming it will be cold and snowy there.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this line. As a matter of fact, a lot of the lines during this particular week, I think they're all a little bit bloated. But Denver's defense does give me a little cause for concern. They can be pretty stingy at times. And last week we saw the offense really produce an effective game plan, and it really worked out in their favor. So at 6, you said it was?
6.5.
Yeah, at 6.5, man. I don't know. It's a little scary. Do you have a feeling either way?
A part of me really wants to take Buffalo. I think they're about to go on they've been on a run, but I think they'll probably close out this season and win all their games. But that 6.5 number just sits way too high. I don't think the Denver offense will be able to challenge that Buffalo defense. So if you can't challenge that Buffalo defense, I think the Buffalo offense will find ways to score points, even on a really, really good Denver defense, which has played really well all season long. But it's really hard for me to take this 6.5. Just seems like way too many points.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do think that the Bills will definitely come out on top. I am a little concerned. I haven't checked the weather report for what it's looking like. I think you said it's going to be snowy if that's the case. Even though we have seen them play well in bad weather, I still don't know exactly how they perform in that type of weather. So at 6.5, I feel a little too scared by that number. So I think we just probably stay away from this one for now.
Current weather report, not too bad. Going to be sunny and 55. So
okay.
So
I mean, that makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, we aren't getting a bad weather. The thing also that concerns me a little bit, Buffalo-wise, is Denver's defense against the pass is really, really good. They're the 8th ranked team against the pass. And against the rush, though, they're only 25. So they aren't quite as good against the run. But as much as Buffalo's sort of improved the last couple of weeks run-wise, I don't know if they can totally take advantage of that. But I just – too big of points for my taste. We should probably move on to better pastures here.
Yeah, I mean, really quick before we do, just wanted to mention the fact that Buffalo is averaging 27.6 points per game this season. So, I mean, they are putting up points. If the weather's not going to be bad, I think that this possibly just moves up to the maybe column, just for the fact that the Bills have been pretty hot lately.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Carolina Panthers at Green Bay Packers. No word on McCaffrey yet. Very large spread. I think we know how this game's going to go, but the question becomes, how is this number? Can they hit this number? Green Bay has shown a propensity to not cover these really large spreads and sort of let teams get backdoor points. So, what do you make of this? Can they cover this big spread? Any love on taking the underdog in Carolina and getting those 8.5 points?
Normally I would. I've kind of fallen out of love with Carolina ever so slightly. We touched on it a little bit last week when we talked about this team, how it seems like ever since Teddy came back from his injury that he almost took a step back, as well as the entire team. I feel like defensively they've kind of been struggling somewhat pretty much all season long. But, we did see some flashes here and there in certain games that they won. I just don't think that they bring enough to the table to compete with the Packers offense. I think it's just a little too potent for them. So the question then becomes to me, how many points do I think Carolina can put up? Green Bay's defense isn't great. They're okay. They're formidable, but they're not, an elite defense. So the question to me becomes, how many points do I think Carolina can put up against Green Bay, and will it be enough to tighten that gap enough for them to cover the spread? And I don't feel comfortable either way on either side. So for me, this is, more of a tier 3 type game, like lower end of the maybes.
Where I go here, McCaffrey didn't practice today or yesterday, so it makes me doubtful that he probably will play. I don't totally know why they would even play him, but the way this Green Bay defense, they're 22 against the run. If McCaffrey were a go, I'd definitely be a little more wanting to maybe grab Carolina, but I don't know. Mike Davis has sort of trailed off. He's run solidly, but I wouldn't say spectacularly. So I don't think he poses the exact same threat to this porous Green Bay rush defense. And even though I like Green Bay here, Carolina's offense has still been pretty solid. They're still a top 10 offense in the NFL, even without Christian McCaffrey. So I don't think you could trust Green Bay to cover this 8.5 point spread, especially with the way they've let teams sort of score late to, I don't know if get back in the game, but make the game closer than it really appears the last couple weeks. So I just think we got to probably move on, as much as I think we both think Green Bay is probably going to easily roll up 30 to 35 points in this game. All right, what do we got next? We have Tampa Bay Buccaneers -4.5 at the Atlanta Falcons. Interesting game. 4.5 point road favorites in Atlanta. I don't like that, but maybe this Atlanta team is quit, but every time you say that, then we get a 30-point win by Atlanta. So you give me your handicapping strategy and handicapping this very awkward Bucs team and this even more weird Atlanta Falcons team.
I mean, if you look statistically, both of them are pretty much just around the same number, as far as total offense goes for league rankings. defensively is where you see the big difference. Whereas in Tampa Bay is a top 10 all-around defense compared to Atlanta's 28th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where the big difference lies. My question then becomes, do I think that Tampa Bay's defense can get enough pressure on Matt Ryan, enough to at least, affect the game? If that's the case, we've seen it multiple times throughout the season where Atlanta struggles is if they get pressure, they just can't really get the ball going. They can't get the ball moving. They've had receiver issues pretty much all season long with certain guys in and out of the lineup. I don't know how healthy they are going into this game, but I still think that Tampa Bay has a lot more to play for. It being a divisional opponent scares me a little bit because they do tend to play each other tougher, but I still kind of like Tampa Bay to win by at least a touchdown in this game. So I don't know.
So you like the Tampa Bay line?
I kind of do. I'm not in love with it. It's just that when I try to visualize the way the game's going to go, I can still see it being a tight game, but I can still see Tampa Bay winning by at least a touchdown. So I mean, technically that would cover, but them being road favorites, and then you think about the last game that they played,
Minnesota.
It's just, I don't know. It's a little scary. If I had to make a choice on this game, I would definitely take Tampa because I just feel that they are a more complete team than Atlanta is at the time at this current moment. So, but I don't feel comfortable about it either way.
No. If you could tell me what kind of offense Tampa's going to run, they seem to be in some sort of hybrid of about 5 different offenses. I don't even think they know what they want. Sometimes they're a power running game like they were last week where they ran Ronald Jones a lot, and they seem to be really effective doing that. And sometimes they just want to bomb it away and go all out and run a bunch of deep passes, which doesn't seem to be their strength. And then sometimes we get those, short, quick underneath passes, Pittsburgh Steelers style. I just never know quite what's coming, which makes it really sort of hard to get a hold of what Tampa Bay is going to be week to week. I know what Atlanta's going to be week to week, which is usually bad with a handful of playmakers that can cause you problems. I would lean to stay away from this just because of Tampa being such a big road favorite. But if you made me pick one side or the other, I'd probably lean Tampa Bay just because I don't think Atlanta's going to play all that hard. They looked a little quitty last week versus the Chargers.
I will say this before we even move on. Every week I do a crazy parlay that, has no chance of hitting. I do it just for fun. To me, it's kind of like playing the lottery. And this week I ended up with a 12-team parlay, which is pretty ridiculous. But out of all those games, I think I might have taken the line on 2, maybe 3 of those games. And the rest are pretty much just money lines because I don't feel comfortable about a lot of these lines.
Yeah, me either. You ready to move on to the next game? And speaking of quitty teams.
Oh, let's do it.
All right. The Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts minus 6.5 point favorites. Once again, we're just getting hammered with these large point spreads. And I mean, you seem to be a little bit more open to taking them. I think that's just sort of my old school mentality built into my head. You see a touchdown favorite in these things, and I get scared. And as much as Houston was beyond atrocious last week and Indianapolis looked good, I know Indianapolis is winning this game, but the 6.5 points scares me. Where are you here?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. 6.5 does scare me, especially because these two teams know each other pretty well. They tend to play each other a lot during the regular season. And I mean, even though Indianapolis has won 3 out of the last 4 meetings, I don't feel comfortable with the 6.5 point spread. It's even a lot further now. I think it sits at 7.5 now. So that's even worse. But I could definitely see Indy winning this game. They still have a lot to play for. They have a lot of meaningful games left. they're trying to get as high of a seed as they possibly can and possibly even win that division. So I feel like they're going to come out and play hard. The question then becomes, how is their defense going to play? Are they going to be able to stop Deshaun Watson? They've had several games where defensively we expect them to show up and they end up giving a lot of points and it becomes a shootout. And if that's going to be the case, the last person I want to put my money on is Phillip Rivers in the shootout, unfortunately.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know if this is going to necessarily be a shootout. Houston is the third worst team against the run. So, I mean, honestly, I think Indianapolis will be able to just roll with Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines. And I don't even know how much of a factor Phillip Rivers is going to be other than, throwing some nice play action passes to T.Y. and Pittman. And I don't know. Last week, it seemed like the week before, Houston's offense still looked humming. But without Will Fuller and a couple of the other guys, it seemed last week maybe that started to catch up to him a little bit, not being able to really produce any sort of offense versus that Bears team. You could convince me maybe to ride Colts here, but it would take a lot for me to take 6.5 point spreads in NFL games. If you could tell me Houston's offense wouldn't be able to do anything here, I'd feel a lot more confident in riding with the Colts.
I mean, yeah, I probably don't want to touch this game just because of the line, but I could definitely see a scenario where Indianapolis defense really steps up and completely shuts down the Houston offense, which is possible. Houston is going to be without Will Fuller still, so that kind of hurts them a little bit, but either way, I still don't feel comfortable.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on. And speaking of one of my few winners last week, San Francisco 49ers, they were my loser, but the Dallas Cowboys at -3. I talked myself into it last week, and I got a decent result. They're getting 2.5 points at home versus San Francisco 49ers team. I avoided in my picks writing it down. Do I dare go with Dallas? Back-to-back weeks, plus the 2.5.
I mean, how confident do you feel that Dallas' offense showing up?
I'm confident in a small way that they're going to win this game. But then I look at stats, and the San Francisco 49ers rushing attack versus this Dallas defense has
They're going to
me
eat them alive.
very, very, very scared. Dallas, the 27th ranked rush defense. The San Francisco 49ers are built to rack up yards versus this Dallas team. But I saw a little quitty in the Niners last week as well. I thought they'd come out, they'd play better last week. That's why I bet on them versus that Washington football team. And by the second half, they looked like they wanted this season from hell to pretty much be over. Can they get motivated again in this Dallas game? If they can, I think San Francisco probably is the better team. But if they're in quit mode and ready to pack it in and come back next year and try to be a player, I think Dallas getting points at home here is the play. So you give me your analysis and strategy and how this is going to break down.
You see, I actually feel a lot more comfortable about San Francisco this week.
Oh, you see, you like the overall stats in this one, don't you? You know that Niners going to run all over you.
Here's the thing. I don't even have to look at the stats to know. Honestly, I just have to look at the play on the field. And I don't need the statistics to tell me that Dallas defense is pretty bad. I think they've had maybe one or two games where they've showed up this whole season. And those were surprises and they were shocks because that's not what we've seen from them. That's not what we expect from them. So the way that their defense is set up, I think that San Francisco's offense is pretty much in a position to be able to feast on them. Now, I turn it to the other side of the ball. Dallas's offense haven't been very explosive. They're missing some weapons. That offensive line has definitely, been an issue so far this season. They have the big red pistol at quarterback. And Ezekiel Elliott, I think he's underperformed over the last 3 weeks overall statistically. So you look at that offense, going up against a pretty formidable 49ers defense. They've been really gritty, and I believe they're one of the top 10, if not top 15 defenses in the league. I don't have like numbers in front of me to tell you exactly where they stand, but they're a solid defense, the type of defense that you don't want to play on any given Sunday. Now, with all that being said, do I think that the Dallas Cowboys offense can produce against that defense? And I don't think they have enough weapons to do so. So I just feel like the edge is definitely on the 49ers side this week, and that's why I feel more confident about them.
All right. You've talked me off. We'll see if you can hold me off on Sunday when I want to take the Dallas Cowboys.
We have this conversation every week. There is no way that I'm going to be able to keep you away from making those bets.
You did a poor job last week, and I lost some money on a couple teams.
Hey, but I also didn't talk you out of that Dallas one.
Yeah, I know. It's what saved the bankroll a little bit. All right, we'll move on. Speaking of big spreads that I'm going to have to probably pass on, Jacksonville Jaguars, Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 12.5-point favorites. Does Baltimore keep this rolling, and do they keep it rolling to the point where they cover 12.5? Do we have the guts to take possibly the worst defense in the NFL, especially against the run, versus Baltimore Ravens team who look like they are starting to get that running game going offensively here? 12.5 points is a lot, but I don't know. You tell me what your feeling is here.
Let's see. Baltimore has put up at least 34 points in the last two games. So their offense definitely seems to be humming, seems to kind of gotten back into stride, right at the end of the season, right when they need to start getting hot. That's exactly when they fired up. So that's positive going in. As you mentioned, the Jaguars defense, probably one of the worst defenses in the NFL. That spread is really big. It hasn't really moved much. I think it's still at 12.5 right now. I definitely see Baltimore winning, and I could definitely see them completely destroying the Jaguars. But I don't want to risk a 12.5 point, favorite right now. I think that it's just a little too. I think it's a little too wide for my personal preference. I don't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm an auto no-go on the Ravens here, as much as I think they're going to blow out this game. And part of me wants a piece of the Jags at 12.5. They've been really good on offense. This Baltimore Ravens defense has dropped off the last couple weeks. You saw the Cleveland Browns in that second half really start to roll on them. I think COVID hit a couple of their players really hard, not as in missing games, as in they actually got sick and were losing weight and haven't fully recovered, to their full strength and capabilities. So their defense has been not quite as dominant as it has been, in a previous year. So that tells me to take the Jaguars. But from what I saw from the Ravens last week, it looked more like the team from last year, which would just annihilate these much lesser type teams. So that scares me off the Jags. And I think this is just, as much as I sort of want to take this Jags team who has been covering all season long, and their offense has really been pretty decent. I mean, it's much better than a lot of those bottom feeder offenses. I just don't know if I can pull that trigger.
I agree with you 100%. I don't feel comfortable about it. It's too wide of a spread for me.
Yeah. All right. I think this one will be a fun one to preview. I couldn't put this one in my picks, but interesting game nonetheless. New England Patriots go to the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, 2.5-point favorites. This has been a bit of a bugaboo land for New England in years past, but this is not the New England of years past, and really this isn't the Miami of years past. But 2.5-point favorites, it's scary. I will say that. And the other thing that scares me is the Dolphins don't have much leeway here. I think they probably have to win out. They might be able to fit in one loss in these closing games, but a lot of pressure here on Miami to continue to win games and keep themselves in that playoff hunt.
Yeah, and I think that you're definitely going to have to ask yourself the question is, do I think that this rookie quarterback, as well as these young players and young team in general, young coach, do you think that they can withstand the heat of the moment of trying to win as many games as possible to possibly sneak into the playoffs and really turn that season around? Bill Belichick he's got a reputation for really coming after these rookie quarterbacks. I think that for his career, he's like rookie quarterbacks have won 7 games against him, I think, out of 21 possible wins. So he obviously has a way of kind of messing with their heads. He puts together really good schemes, really good game plans. I think that there's a possibility for this one to be one of those. We're all kind of used to New England being upset by Miami, and the way that the tables have turned for these teams, where realistically speaking, on paper, the Dolphins are a better team than the Patriots are, but I could definitely see this being kind of one of those trap games where the Patriots actually come out and win this game.
Yeah. 2 things concern me here. One, the Miami defense, which has been lights out and really great, but they are not as great against the running game. They're the 23rd ranked defense against the run. They seem to have a problem up front a little bit, stopping the run. And this New England offense, while it's god-awful, is the 9th ranked rushing offense in the league. So it scares me that Miami might be the better team in this game, but there might be like half where they get like 2 possessions. And then they can't score and they can't play it out where they're the better team. And New England sort of sneaks away with a win here. Would you be willing to, let's go, say, take the New England side here, or do you just not want to have to watch that offense and as the Dolphins roll up a bunch of points and you're like, oh, they can't catch up because they can't throw the ball?
Yeah, well, see, that's my biggest concern is that for some reason Tua just comes out and lights it up, and really proves, the hype that was surrounding him, during the draft. If he just comes out and lights the Patriots up, and puts a number on them, do I trust the Patriots being able to put up points and making this at least a tight game? And I don't know if I do. But to me, for some reason, when I look at all the lines for this slate of games, and then I look at games like this is one of the few games that has a really low spread, and it almost kind of gives me pause. I'm like, it almost feels like a set, like a trap game. So I don't know how I feel about it. I think that you could possibly sway me to go either way, either for Miami as the favorites or for the Patriots as dogs. So if you feel like you kind of got to play with the Patriots here, then I'll definitely roll with you.
I don't know if I can totally make myself do it. If we could pause this podcast and wait till Sunday and I could watch how the line moves. And if we could get it up to about 4.5, I think I'd be a little bit more willing to jump on that New England. But under that key number of 3, I just don't it's not quite enough to make me hop on that New England bandwagon.
Yeah, I agree with you. If anything, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable taking the favorites for this particular game. But that's just me.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to one I do end up having in my picks this week. Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, minus 3.5 point favorites. I'm curious to get your vibe on this one. Dan Bailey is still on the roster and probably going to kick for them. So just keep that in mind. They have no kicking game this week. So they also might not have an extra point game as well.
Yeah, based off how he did last week, I'm actually surprised he's still on the roster, but I guess you definitely can't really move things around too much at this point in the season, especially when you're in contention for a playoff spot. So,
yeah, you might want to move them around if you can't get points from your kicking game. So, anyway, where are you sitting here? Bears, Vikings, what do you like?
I'm a little surprised to hear that you actually have some action in this game, because I don't know how I feel about either team. The Bears really came out and looked really good last week, and the Vikings, to me, seem probably like the more balanced team where they have a lot more weapons on offense they can choose from. At any point, in any game, Dalvin Cook can come in and really take over and have one of those monster 200-yard games where you just keep pounding the rock and just keep handing the ball and you just control the clock. They've got some weapons at wide receiver, but I really don't know which way to lean. I think that I could be swayed either way for either side. I don't know. I don't know where I personally stand.
Yeah. All right. So let me give you a couple things here. Chicago Bears, 5th best rush defense in the league. So I think they will be able to sort of control Dalvin Cook. And if you could do that, you could control Minnesota Vikings play action. You might be able to force Kirk into a couple turnovers, which will give the Chicago Bears a short field. And they'll be able to get a handful of points that way. And the last couple of weeks, the Bears offense has been almost 30 points a game. So I'm liking this Bears team. I think this Vikings defense is pretty porous. So they shouldn't be able to pressure Trubisky too much into turnovers. David Montgomery's been on fire of late. So I'm just really feeling the Bears here. It also feels like the Bears make a late run here and get to like 9-7, and they don't end up firing Nagy or Pace, and we get to do this again next year and insult the Bears and Nagy as they somehow manage to mess up the season all year long.
Well, you already know how this dynamic works. I'm the good guy here. I don't throw dirt on anybody. I leave that for you. But yeah, you know what? You sold me. Like I said, I was really leaning either way with this game. I had no idea who made me feel more comfortable, but you definitely settled my anxiety a little bit. So I think we're going with the Bears.
All right, Bears. I think that's our first one, is it?
That's our first one.
Whoa! We're hot this week, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Also, I want no text when the Bears have 0 points through 3 quarters, and Mitch Trubisky has 5 interceptions.
Don't worry, I'll hold on to those text messages till we see each other.
All right, moving on. Interesting game here. Seattle on the road to Washington, 4.5-point favorite. Hard game to handicap, but from what I've read, Alex isn't healing. So the Dwayne Haskins experience is going there on quarterback. It probably depends how much you trust this Washington football team defensively, what side you're leaning here. I'm curious how you're leaning here.
Yeah, to me, this was a really, believe it or not, a really tough game to really get a feel for. If you stop and think, all season long, we've basically been on Seattle's bandwagon, because of Russell Wilson and how good that offense has been. Metcalf has been pretty insane all season long. Now the run game has, kind of been a little stagnant. We haven't seen a lot in terms of production from the running game. There's been a few games here and there where they do produce, but that's usually against bad rush defenses. Now for Washington's side of the ball, even without Alex Smith last week, I think that they looked okay. They didn't look too bad. Haskins seemed to, kind of improve from the last time we saw him. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he got a chance to just kind of sit back and watch. And that probably slows the game down a little bit for him. But my question then becomes, how long can I trust this Washington defense to hold, Seattle down? And it's hard for me to picture anybody really holding Russell Wilson back for long enough to, pull off a win. I don't know. I really think that Seattle is going to find a way to win this game, but by how much, I don't know. I could definitely see this being a field goal game. So I'm probably leaning to stay away from this one. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a stay away territory. I want to take Washington really, really bad here, getting 4.5 points at home. I think this Seattle team is right to be picked on, especially defensively, Washington. But with Antonio, I think if Gibson were going to play, and they had a little bit. I had a little bit more faith in that running game. I think I'd really pull the trigger on this one, but with Gibson out, Smith probably out, I don't know if I could put my trust in Haskins to beat a quality team like the Seattle Seahawks, even if their defense has not been great this year. But if you look at the numbers, probably the last 4 to 6 weeks, it's much better than it was at the beginning of the year. The Haskins thing scares me. He looked improved, at least confident, I will say. I don't know if improved because his numbers were not all that great, but they were up pretty big. But he looked more confident and understanding, pocket awareness, how to control a game than he had in the previous thing. But doing that versus a 49ers team when you come in and you're already up and doing that in a game versus Seattle Seahawks, I don't know if I could trust the Washington football team to cover this point spread, even though I really, really like them getting 4.5 points at home with that defense.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much on the same track right now.
All right, we'll move on past this game and move on to another one of your large and bloated lines. Detroit Lions at the Tennessee Titans, minus 9.5 for the Tennessee Titans. Once again, the Lions did their thing last week, pretty much got blown out, but covered their spread as they do. Matthew Stafford, possibly the best backdoor coverer of all time. It probably should go on his Hall of Fame plaque in Canton. Couldn't win games, but could cover a lot of spreads as an underdog. Where are you here? 9.5. Tennessee should be able to run all over the Detroit Lions, but 9.5, a lot of points. Bad Tennessee pass defense has me very nervous. But Stafford's probably not playing. So does that factor into your thing if it's a Chase Daniel run Detroit Lions offense, or is it just the Lions as the backdoor cover kings of the world?
To me, it definitely does affect the overall outcome of the game. I think this just makes it that much easier for the Titans to run away with this one. I do think that they're going to win this game. I think they're probably going to win this game big. But even as confident as I am about that, I still don't feel confident enough to take the spread. To me, it's just too wide. It's even gone up further as I'm looking at it now. I think it sits at 10.5 now. So I want nothing to do with the spread, even though I do feel confident that they're going to win and win big.
Yeah, I'm confident they'll easily control this game, but there also has not been a guarantee that Daniel is going to play. Knowing Stafford, he likes to play in these games. He'll tough it out, and Tennessee will be up, 35-14, and we'll get some crappy touchdowns, and it'll just ruin our day and our week. So other than the Titans will probably win and have control of this game, I don't see any way where we can take a 9.5 point spread here. So we'll move on to more bloatation.
That seems to be the theme of the week.
The New York Jets are at the Los Angeles Rams, and we're getting a little value here as it's much higher than this now, but 16.5 points for the Los Angeles Rams. Can you make a case for the Jets? Can you make a case for the Rams? Or can you make a case that we pretend this game doesn't exist?
Well, I can try to make a case for all three of those. So let's give it a try. So here's my case for the Jets. There's a good chance that the Rams pretty much run Cam Akers all day, and the final score of this game is 14-0. So there's the case for the Jets. Here's the case for the Rams.
Our case for the Jets is they score 0 points and hold them to 14.
Basically, that just because they're going to run the ball basically all game long, that's the case I can make for the Jets. That's where we're at, okay? Now, I was a little bit higher on them going into last week, because of the performance against the Raiders, which just kind of brings back memories about how bad the Raiders actually are, because this last week they looked horrible. And I expect a lot of the same this week going up against the Rams. Offensively, I don't think they can do much against that Rams defense. And I think that Rams offense, even though it has been struggling and it's not as potent as we're used to, it's definitely good enough to at least push this Jets defense backwards and, get a few scores. I do predict that this game is probably going to be a lot of run heavy on the offensive side for the Rams, which will definitely cause that clock to tick down a lot faster. So that's why my case for the Jets was that they lose that game, but they lose it by only a couple of touchdowns, and that clock was basically drained. The time of possession would be about 5% to 95%. But my case for the Rams is this is a really, really bad Jets team, and basically just about any team playing up against them has been able to put up at least 21 points, if not more, other than a few cases here and there, which were very odd circumstances. And then my final case for this game does not exist. Look at that spread, man. Don't even worry about it. I'm gonna watch, obviously, as a Ram fan, but yeah, it's one of the bigger lines we've had so far this season, and I don't know how you feel comfortable either way.
I'm not comfortable anyway in this game. The only thing I'm probably going to do is if I can get decent value on a prop of Jets scoring between 0 and 3, I probably will take that if I can find value in that. But I'm scared even that will not be of proper value, and I probably won't get the odds I deserve on picking a team to be shut out in an NFL game.
I will say this: I did take the Rams defense scoring a touchdown at any point in the game. I feel like that Jets offense struggled enough against formidable defenses, but the Rams defense on any given Sunday could be the top defense in the league. So I could definitely see a scenario where the Rams defense gets some points this week.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on past the large spread game and go to an interesting game. The Battle of the Birds, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals, really large spread here, 6.5. Where are you with this? I'm leaning one way here. Where are you leaning on this one?
I'm actually leaning towards Philadelphia this week.
Are you? Because guess where I'm leaning? Philadelphia this week. This spread seems really bloated to me. 6.5. You could tell me 4.5, but I don't understand the 6.5. The Eagles defense looked a little bit more pumped up last week. I won't say the offense was great, but they seemed to have a system in place. They were running the ball. If they could continue to run the ball, why they weren't running the ball with Carson Wentz, I won't ask those kinds of questions. That's a odd coaching thing. But anyway, they seem to want to run the ball once again. So with Sanders and Hurts back there, I think this Eagles team has a little life. But I'm curious of your opinion on it.
My opinion basically came down to that Philadelphia pass rush. Even though it's been absent every now and then, overall, I think they got a pretty good pass rush. They can get to the quarterback and at least, if not get a sack, at least cause some pressure. And that's where Kyler Murray's had his downfall so far this season. Any team that can get some pressure back there, it really tends to affect his throws and affects his timing. So I think with that new resurgent offense in Philadelphia, Hurts has obviously kind of given him a little spark of life. I haven't really compared statistically whether they've been that much better or not, but I think that they look better as a team. So at 6.5, I think that this is definitely one of those situations where the line got bloated a little bit based off what Arizona did last week, which, look at the record. They really haven't been a team to continue a streak for that long. So.
Yeah. The only other thing that would concern me a little bit is a couple more of the Eagles secondary went out, and they're playing on a really, really, really thin secondary with a lot of second and third string guys out there. Does that concern you any, or do you think that pass rush can sort of maybe negate it a little bit and not allow the Cardinals to get deep and get open receivers if the pass rush can get on top of Murray before the receivers can get open.
Well, I think it's definitely concerning. I think that when you have a situation like that where you're a little short as far as cornerback depth goes, you definitely lose in certain situations. Like, if you're going to get a pass rush on there and you're going to try to get to the quarterback, you obviously lose some help in the coverage. And usually as an offense, you try to run some quick plays, some slants, some quick outs. And when you're playing against already pretty worn out secondary, I think it helps a wide receiver corps more than anything. So if they're going to have issues with their secondary, it probably helps Arizona a lot more than it, But I'm at 6.5. I still think they could probably keep it tight enough to at least, cover that spread.
Yeah. All right. So I think we got two. I think we're in agreement on the Philadelphia Eagles plus 6.5. We'll move on to our next game, a really exciting contest. Kansas City Chiefs at the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints are getting 3.5 points in the Superdome. I'm leaning one way here. What way are you leaning here?
I'm leaning towards Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, we're a little split here. I'm leaning on the New Orleans Saints. I always like Saints getting points in the Superdome, but I know it's very scary to take against the Kansas City Chiefs right now.
Listen, there's a reason why they're 12-1. That one loss was against the Raider team that just happened to play really tough both matchups. To me, I'm just a little scared when it comes to that Saints offense. We saw a little bit of a fall back to grace with last week, and it affected them, and that's one of the reasons why their record sits where it sits right now. But that defense, they've been spectacular ever since Brees went down. It seems like they really stepped their game up. And what's a little concern to me is that I feel like they might have maybe gassed themselves out a little bit. Not saying that they're done or anything like that. I'm not even close to saying that they're done. But I think that they're definitely slowing down a little bit, and they probably need, a little bit of a spark, which I think that's what Brees is going to do for them when he does come back. I still think that they're probably one of the better teams in the NFL. They're definitely one of the better teams in the NFC. But Kansas City is also really tough. There's a reason why, they're the defending champs. And for 3 points, I don't think that I can really bet against Mahomes.
Yeah. The other thing that's weird about this, especially so late in this season, this is a conference side game. Kansas City's in the AFC, Saints are in the NFC. So really meaning wise, it's not necessarily all that important. It doesn't, mess with like home field advantage in the playoffs. I mean, there's some seeding stuff sidewise, but I don't know. I like the Saints getting points in the Superdome, but I can see where it's really just hard to take against a Kansas City team that is ever just a 3-point favorite, road away anytime. Probably in the whole Patrick Mahomes era. So
I will say this really quick, not that it's going to come as a shock or anything, but you have to understand that Kansas City also has 10 straight road wins. So there's something to be said about that also.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we'll move on past that one. We'll move to the Cleveland Browns at the New York Giants. I tried to find a way to like either side here. I couldn't find a way to like either side here. I don't know what I'm getting from the Giants or Daniel Jones. I don't know how Cleveland bounces back off that tough Baltimore loss. The Giants' rush defense has been really, really solid. So will Cleveland not be able to get their offense going? I just really found it hard to find a way to handicap this game. I'm curious where you're sitting here, how you think this game will break down.
Well, when I first looked at the game, I wasn't too sure about it. I didn't really have a feeling either way. The more I've sat down and thought about it, though, I kind of like the Browns in this game. I know that the Giants' rush defense can be stingy at times, but we've seen the Browns go up against some stingy run defenses, and those running backs, they just seem to produce regardless, week in and week out. Uh, Now, Baker Mayfield, as much as we think he's been up and down so far this season, he's 7-1 versus like non-divisional opponents this season. So, that's one of the reasons why they're a playoff contender right now. Am I sold on how good the Browns are? No, I'm still not sold. They definitely impressed me, and they've impressed me, more than a handful of times this season, enough to where people would think that I'd be high on them. But I'm still not sold for some reason. Something about this team just doesn't rub me the right way. And that being said, they're still playing an NFC East team, a team that has seen some improvement. But even with their quarterback back last week, they didn't really play that well because he didn't look really healthy. I don't know how he's going to look this week. So I still think the Browns pull off the win this week. What's the line at, 4.5?
4.5.
Yeah, I mean, 4.5. I kind of feel confident, but as a road favorite, I really don't know.
Yeah. I know where I'd set my line here. I'm curious where you'd set your line. What would you make the Cleveland Browns point spread here?
I'd probably set it at 2.5, and that's what I feel comfortable at.
Yeah, exactly. My thinking was I like Cleveland at 2.5. It feels like we're getting a 2-point little tax here to want to take the Browns team, and I think that's where I'm scared off. I think if this set 2.5 under that 3 key number, I'd jump all over the Browns. But I feel like this is what happens late in the year with these NFL games. You want to take the Browns, but they're going to punish you with 2 extra points to take them. And then you have to start being like, well, Giants, maybe that line's about 2 points off. And it's hard to really fixate on the side here when you have a line that you think is about 2 points off, because then you're like, well, if the line's 2 points off, that there's value there in the Giants. And I don't know.
I mean, technically, I get where you're coming from. Technically, that's the way it should work. But even when I look at that opposite side, I don't see the value. So I don't know. To me, this is, if anything, it falls into a maybe category to me.
Well, we're pretty much out of maybes because I know the next game we're both probably going to be a pass on. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh Steelers, 12.5-point road favorites. Speaking of bloated lines, this game is going to be a blowout. I'm assured the Steelers will dominate this game and win. But 12.5-point road favorites in a division rivalry game, that's an automatic no-go for me. So I'm curious if you think this is worth taking. The Bengals were atrocious last week. If you look at it that way, they lost by 27 points to the Cowboys. They should quite easily lose by 27 points to the Steelers. So where are you sitting? Where does your math fix in here to take one side or the other?
Well, I mean, technically on paper, yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win, and they're going to win big. They should easily cover this spread on paper. Now, unfortunately, these games aren't played on paper. We saw, at one point this season where your aforementioned Dallas Cowboys, took it to Pittsburgh and, basically handed it to them. So there's plenty of situations where the underdog doesn't really listen to all the hype, and they come out and they play well. This could be one of those situations where, Cincinnati's just, they have nothing to lose, nothing to gain. So they just kind of go out and just play free and probably play one of their better games so far, even with all these injuries they've been having. But I still see Pittsburgh winning, and I still see them winning big. I mean, Dallas really put it to Cincinnati last week, and this is that Dallas offense that I wasn't really sold on going up against the Niner defense. So I just, at what it sits at that type of spread, I think it's too big for me to take any action on. So just because of how bad one team is compared to how good one is, I think this game automatically moves into maybe area, but I don't know either way. You'd have to sell me on it.
Yeah, I can't sell you on it. So we have 2 picks on the mutuals. I have confidence in those 2 picks. The problem is we need 5 picks. So you have to pull out essentially 3 more picks because 2 of those picks were already picks that I will be taking in our picks segment of this show. So I'm pretty much all out of what I liked this week. Where were you sitting? Vegas, Chargers. I think we were both a little muted on that one. Were you really high on one side or the other?
No, but I felt more confidence for the Raiders.
Buffalo and Denver. Buffalo 6.5-point road favorites. Carolina, Green Bay 8.5. I think you liked Tampa a little bit. Do we dare take Tampa 4.5-point road favorites versus Atlanta?
I mean, that's definitely one of the lower spreads that we have in our maybe column. So I think we have to try and jump on that one, maybe.
All right. God. Tampa Bay Bucks 4.5-point road favorites. That one's going to hurt my soul either way. So,
what could possibly go wrong? You have a goat in your quarter. Come on.
Yeah. All right. We were a stay away San Francisco Cowboys. You didn't want to touch Jacksonville and Baltimore 12.5. New England and Miami. Which way did we lean there? I guess since I'm asking which way we leaned, probably means we leaned no way and didn't like the game.
Well, I think that we both thought it was a trap game, a type of game where you want to take the Dolphins and the Patriots will end up winning that game. But, yeah, I don't think we were confident enough to take either side.
All right, the Seattle-Washington game. I think we both were
Well, listen, I picked the Tampa game, so you pick this next one.
Well, I think we both were sort of leaning the Washington football team side, getting the 4.5 points here.
Were we? It now sounds like you're just putting words in my mouth.
Do we dare take the Washington football team with Dwayne Haskins? All right, we'll move past that one. Titans 9.5, Lions, Rams 16.5, Jets, Saints 3.5, Chiefs. Oh my! All right, I think we have to take the Washington football team here.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Steelers.
No.
No.
It's too wide of a spread.
Browns 4.5. You do realize we have like all road favorites over a field goal.
Hey, we've done it before and it's worked out in our favor.
All right. Browns, the last.
Is that gonna be our fifth pick, the Browns?
I don't know. You seem to have a little emotion towards the Browns.
No, I mean, honestly, I feel more confident about what was it?
Which one did you feel more confident about? Titans?
No.
Baltimore? San
No.
Francisco, Dallas?
I
Indy?
feel.
Indy -6.5. I think that's our choice. Cleveland -4.5 at Giants. Indy at home, -6.5 Texans. Pick your poison of death of large bloated spreads.
I think. Oh gosh, this is bad. Okay, I'll tell you where I'm leaning, and then you tell me if you agree or not.
Okay.
I'm leaning more towards the Browns just because it's the lower spread. That's the only reason why.
All right. We'll lean towards the Browns. What if we... Oh, God, I don't want to have all favorites. Well, I guess we don't have all favorites. We have Washington or Indianapolis. Which are you more confident in? Or are you more confident in Seattle?
I'm more confident in probably.
If you think Seattle's a winner, I find taking against Dwayne Haskins as well.
I think Seattle's going to win that game
By 4.5 points.
That's the thing is I don't know. Like I said, I could definitely see that game being a field goal game. But I have more confidence in Indy getting the job done.
All right. We're switching off Washington. We're going with the Indianapolis Colts. Great. Lots of large favorites.
That's all we have this week, man. We have to give 5 games, and that's what we have this week. So
all right. We have our 5, starting off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, -4.5 at Atlanta. The Indianapolis Colts, -6.5 versus the Houston Texans. The Chicago Bears, +3.5 versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Philadelphia Eagles, +6.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cleveland Browns, -4.5 versus the New York Giants. A nice slate of 5 games. I'm very confident, let me tell you. All right. We'll go into our individual picks. We'll see if we're a little more confident in these. You had a big week last week, 5-1. Everybody should have hopped on and rode the Achilles train. You had wins. Cardinals -1.5, Colts -2.5, Chargers +2.5, Ravens -1.5, and your Los Angeles Rams. Your loss, the Houston Texans. That's why you liked the Colts so much over the Washington football team.
those darn Texans, I haven't jumped on their bandwagon all season, and the time I feel confident about it.
Yeah.
You saw what they did to me.
All
I could
right.
have had a perfect week.
Yeah. 5-1 moved your overall record to 39, 30-2. I was not as successful last week. I was 1-3. Giants loss, Panthers loss, Niners loss, Ravens win. So my overall record fell to 44-38 on the year. This is what happens when you have a podcast that is about picks and you're forced to make picks that you don't really love because you can't come on here and be like, I have one game, maybe, to take this week. All right. Let's hear what you got this week. I have 3 picks this week. What do you have this week?
I think I'm going to go with 7 picks this week.
Oh, 7 picks.
I think so.
The volume in play here.
I'm starting to get desperate.
The college season is ending, but you're still riding the train of a large bloated schedule of picks.
Yep,
Okay.
That's what I do.
Since I only have 3 picks, we're going to have to make you go 2 and I'll go 1. So what's your first pick?
All right, so my first one, I'm taking some action on the Thursday night football game, and I'm taking the Vegas Raiders at -4.
Oh, my God. You were hanging around Mark too much. All right. So the Las Vegas Raiders. What do you got up next?
For my next one, I am taking the Philadelphia Eagles as dogs at +6.5.
All right. So that is a nice segue into my first pick. The Philadelphia Eagles +6.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. We trust in Jalen Hurts. Let's see it one more week before the wheels probably come off that train.
Yeah, I'm hoping for one more week, and if we can get one more, we're in good shape.
All right. What do you got next?
For my next one, I am taking the under in the Kansas City Chiefs New Orleans Saints game at 51.5.
Oh, interesting strategy. I don't know who takes unders in the Kansas City Chiefs, but you're a bold man, and I commend your courage there.
You'll see it. You'll see when the game goes final.
All right, what's your other pick for you?
My next one is I'm also taking the Kansas City Chiefs at -3.
Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs -3. All right, so another good segue. I'm taking the New Orleans Saints +3. So a little bit of a battle here. And though you have both sides of it, I think if you hit your under, I probably will hit my +3. So interesting.
Either way, I think that I've got the edge when it comes to head-to-head, so I'm glad you took the Saints.
We'll see. I'm feeling confident this week in my 3-4 picks. All right. What do you got next?
For my next one, I am taking the San Francisco 49ers at -3.
Oh, wow. Well, We'll see if you can keep me away from the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. It is not part of the official Football Time Picks podcast pick. So no Dallas Cowboys for me, but be sure to follow me on Twitter because they might pop up there by Sunday.
They always do, every single Sunday.
All right, what's another pick for you?
Okay, I am also taking the Miami Dolphins at -2.5.
Oh, wow. Going against the Pats and a rookie quarterback. All right, my last pick, the Chicago Bears, +3.5 versus the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to trust the Bears one more time this year and hope Dan Bailey gives us that win back this week after screwing me over pretty much last week. So, all right, what are your final picks?
My final pick is I am taking the over in the Philadelphia-Arizona Cardinal game at 47.5.
Oh, nice. All right. A good slate of picks from the Achilles reign and a mediocre small slate of picks from the champ Chesterfield here. All right. That's our show for today. Be sure to follow us on greenlightnetwork.org where you can find all our podcasts. The Know It All podcast will have a new episode on Friday. Be sure to download Monday's episode where our man Achilles reign came in, did the NBA win totals. We started our preview of the NBA season. Monday, we're going to have all our conference champions and individual awards. Be sure to follow the Football Time podcast for our college football picks as well. Final weekend, championship weekend of the college football season. And as always, the Drive and Dish podcast daily for your college basketball and soon to be NBA picks and daily fantasy plays. Where can we find you, Achilles?
You can find me on Twitter at TD Achilles. You can also find me on Instagram at that dude Achilles. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to our Facebook page. We've probably got a little giveaway thing happening in either the upcoming week or during the playoffs. We're still trying to get the format right, but maybe it's just gonna be a little game where you guys get to play along with us and kind of make your picks. And it's one of those jokes where like whoever's closest on an over under wins the prize. So we'll bring more details. So just make sure you get into our Facebook page and make sure you're subscribed so you can keep up to date.
All right. And I'm GLN Champ 5 at both Twitter and Instagram. That's our show, and we're out.